we noticed immediately when we were reviewing the FDD, they really just had one store on there, and it's their corporate-owned store. And right, risk-averse guy sitting here, okay, how can I analyze one store? We started off with over 200 subscription members, so we were fortunate enough to be cash flow positive from month one.
Welcome to the Franchise Champion Show. I'm Alan Regala, former G1 athlete, Stanford engineer, and franchise owner who built $1 million exit. I created this show to help driven individuals like you find the right franchise and learn how to build wealth and reclaim your time. My guests today are a husband and wife team who built their business the safe way. They started with a small investment while still working corporate jobs, navigated a major crisis that would have crushed most owners, and have since grown into multiple brands and locations. We're going to discuss exactly how they made that transition safely and what they learned about building a business that serves your life. Matt and Alissa Higgins, welcome to the Franchise Champion Show.
Thanks for having us.
To be on.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys. After our initial call, Matt, I learned a lot, and you guys have a really great story to tell. So I'm excited to share that with everyone. You guys mind starting by telling us, a bit about your backgrounds?
Sure. You want to kick it off, Alissa?
Sure. I played collegiate volleyball D2 and then got into teaching health and phys ed after that, and just quickly realized that the school setting wasn't quite for me. Being there all day, you can't leave schools. It was a lot. And so then I started with a direct sales company, Advocare, and did that while I was teaching. And it just kind of let me see other ways that you can, make money having a real job per se.
Yeah.
And then from there got into personal training. And so I was doing the nutrition side with Advocare and then personal training my clients and building that up. And then we moved up to Philly at that time. And from there we had our first kid, Jaden, and I would always work out at this workout place called Fit for Mom. And so after a couple years of doing that, the two girls that owned it came to me and they were like, oh, you should buy this from us. So that's how then we got into Fit for Mom, which was our first franchise.
Okay, so Fit for Mom was a franchise, and you were using their services as a customer first, and then they just said, hey, you should buy this company.
Yeah, we lived in downtown Philly, and it was Fit for Mom Philadelphia, and they were both moving outside of the city with their kids, and so yeah, it was like a perfect fit.
Wow. Okay. Well, it just fell into your lap, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely did. We looked at it and we just kind of weighed, pros and cons, laid everything out. Matt's the financial guy, has to lay it all out. And so, yeah, it made sense. And we saw what we could do with it and just saw so much opportunity there that wasn't being tapped into. So we're like, yeah, we got to do this.
Okay. That's great. Okay. So now, Matt, let's talk about your background and, your kind of, your parallel journey, where you started and catch us up to getting into that first franchise.
Yeah, sure. So my background is in computer information systems. I went to school, always wanted to work in business, work in corporate America. And when I graduated, I went to work outside of DC for a consulting and accounting firm called PwC, and found my way into healthcare consulting. Ultimately, did a few different things over my time there, but ultimately found my way into healthcare consulting and just really developed a passion for that industry and a passion for impacting people in a positive way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and everybody kind of has like a light bulb moment, and I had this light bulb moment when I was working at PwC, and it was at the time I was doing work for the largest healthcare organization in the country, and we were doing some pretty important work that was impacting veterans. And I was telling my grandfather, who's a World War II veteran, about this and expecting him to be really excited. And, it's really great, Matt, that you're helping. And his response was, hey, that's all well and good, Matt, but when am I going to get the money for my hearing aids? And it just sort of it struck something in me, and I didn't connect it till much later. but I just knew that I loved corporate America. I was, doing what I thought was impactful work, but I could tell something was missing. It wasn't until many years later that I kind of connected that dot. But, I was leading a life in corporate America where I was working a lot of hours. I was traveling a lot. It wasn't uncommon for me to work a 10, 12-hour day and then, hour plus commute each way, depending on where my clients were on that particular day. And that's when I met Alissa, and her mom was a school teacher. They were always eating dinner as a family together around, 5 o'clock, 5:30. And she was ready for that to continue. Right. And my job, my career at the time just really wasn't conducive to that. So she really started to open up my eyes to something outside of corporate America. But I wasn't very healthy at the time. I was, we were eating out all the time, doing all those sorts of things. So I also had, obviously, ultimately, as you're aware, we got into fitness and nutrition for our businesses right now. But at the time, it was definitely something I needed help with myself. And thanks to Alissa, really, I got on the right track with a lot of that. And like she said, that kind of led us to Fit for Mom to start out.
That's great. That's great. Wow, it's quite a journey. And really interesting thing that you mentioned there with that story with your grandfather is just the disconnect between the work that you're doing and the impact you're having, on kind of the final impact, and I think there's probably the sentiment is probably shared with a lot of other people, in the world, in the corporate world, that feel like they're, doing good stuff. But then it's just a little different, I think, when you are working a little closer to the end customer, and then you can actually see and feel and hear the impact from them directly. And there's just something about that is pretty fulfilling, I think.
I'm right there with you, Alan.
Yeah. Okay. So you've caught us up now. So let's hear how this first franchise business that you guys that fell into your laps essentially, translated into the next thing.
Yeah. So, like Alissa said, so the market for that first business we had was moms. And Alissa was the owner, the operator. I had my full-time job, but I helped out on the back end with things like payroll and bookkeeping and expense management, those types of things. And it was a really neat entryway for us to get into franchising and learn franchising. I'm a pretty risk averse person. So when we went through the numbers on this whole thing, it was an extremely minimal investment to start up a business, right? Under $15,000. And wow. We had a business.
That's really low.
Yes. So in my mind, as the risk averse person, I was like, okay, this is relatively low downside for a potentially high upside. Why not roll the dice? Let's get into it. And it turned out that although we did sell that eventually and make a pretty good profit, really good profit on it, I think the biggest thing is the knowledge that we took away from it related to franchise ownership, and then especially related to working with your spouse.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother thing right there that you have to take into account. Working with your spouse. So, okay, what did you learn there?
Why don't you go ahead, Alissa?
Well, I didn't learn much back then there. It was once we got into Orange Theory is when that's when we worked side by side every day. So that was a little different. But no, back then we just saw an opportunity to take the business, and then it was a little more than you said, Matt, originally. But we doubled that and sold it for double. So we just saw a footprint that you could literally run with. And that's kind of what we did.
Yeah.
There.
I would say too, if I can just brag on Alissa for a moment and just speak to the owner operator aspect of it, right? From the day that we bought that business, we looked at the numbers, we saw a significant opportunity to move the revenue streams from more of a punch card class pack model to a subscription model with recurring revenue. And that was the biggest difference. In under 2 years, Alissa took that from essentially single digit membership to triple digit membership.
Wow.
And that's what enabled us to establish that recurring revenue and actually make it appealing to a buyer when we down the road came upon the opportunity to open up an Orange Theory and really do something more together side by side, as Alissa put it. So, we took all that knowledge and then took a significant amount of money for our down payment when we went into Orange Theory and kind of hit the ground running from there. But yeah, we saw Orange Theory as just a bigger opportunity to work together.
Yeah. So how did you make that transition? Like, what prompted you to say, hey, you know what, this is working great and all, but let's do something bigger? Did that fall into your lap as well? Or is this some planning that you guys did? Or, how did that work?
Yeah, that was definitely more planning. Like, we lived in Philadelphia at the time. We had one of our good friends, because we were doing Avocare, which was direct sales. And one of our good friends in that had opened up 2 Orange Theories in West Virginia. So we opened up the Charleston and Barboursville. And so he's a good friend of ours. And he brought up checking out Orange Theory in Philly. And so we looked around and went and met with the people in Philly. And we lived in Center City, and they wanted us to move to the suburbs. Well, not move, but they wanted us to open in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And we were like, no way, we're not moving out of the city. So then about a year, but we really liked the business model of it. And then that got us looking into, well, what other franchises could we do here that aren't in Philly yet that, could let us like stay here. So we looked at all different fitness franchises and like really did our research, did calls with all of them, the discovery calls, everything. Do your due diligence on the different ones and just see what would make sense and what wouldn't.
And pro formas, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we probably did that on like 4 or 5 different franchises.
All fitness?
Yeah, all fitness. At the time, that was really our only interest. And then nothing quite stood out like Orange Theory did, to put it nicely. It literally is one of a kind. And then the opportunity came to do Orange Theory Fitness in Morgantown. And so we actually moved within like 6 months.
So you ended up moving. You did end up moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
45 minutes was far away, right? And now we're 5.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And
so it was
how
really
did you...
our friend Brock that got us into Orange Theory.
Got it. Okay, excellent. And how did you end up moving to this specific location? Was it because of the opportunity for this franchise? Because I imagine there were other locations open as well. Was there family or something closer, something in that area that you decided to move there?
I think the biggest reason for us was we really saw a great business opportunity. And we felt that we just felt like we couldn't pass it up. We watched Orange Theory continue to grow because between us not doing it in Philly and then moving to Morgantown, it was probably almost 2 years. So we kind of sat with that for 2 years. And when the opportunity presented itself, we just had to jump at it.
Yeah, we drove out one day. We drove 5 hours out, drove around town with like some college student that somebody knew. And Matt had never been here. I was here once to check out the college in like high school. And then we drove home and he was like, I could live there. And I was like, really? And so, yeah, so then that was that. And then we continued down that path after that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. So then you took the leap, you moved and opened your business. That's amazing. And what year was this?
We got awarded the franchise, I want to say in like May, maybe not until July. What was it, Matt? And then we moved August, like 28th of 2019. And then we opened January 2nd was our official opening day of 2020.
Wow. January of 2020. Oh my gosh. Okay. So unfortunate timing. What happened here? This is the pre-pandemic by a number of days.
Yeah. So we closed down literally March 16th. I remember sitting in the studio. But pre that, we had an awesome start. Orange Theory does like pre-sales, and you build up your base. And so you're opening like positively whenever you start. So that was fabulous. And then we couldn't keep up when we first opened. So January and February were amazing months. We were just trying to keep our head above water and couldn't be better than going into March and getting shut down right away.
What a bummer. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine your heart just sinking, and you just spent all this money, and things were going great, and now to not know what's going to be happening in the future, that had to have been so scary.
It was definitely scary. And I mean, we went from this high of being new business owners in a market that nobody really thought could ever be a great market. That's why it was still available, right? Because Orange Theory is a very established franchise. I mean, when we joined, there were more than 1,500 locations. So it was an established franchise, and every great market seemed like it was taken. And yeah, when we came out here, we just sort of went from that high of, wow, we just got off to this amazing start. We started off with a bunch of members. We were adding 25 new members a week for those first 10 weeks. All the good problems you want to have, right? There wasn't enough time in the day to run classes, to keep them, because all the classes were filled. I mean, it was great. It was amazing. And then, 10 weeks in, it's like, oh my goodness, we shut our doors down, but you still owe rent. You still got to pay the bills. You still got to do all that stuff, right? We had a loan. It's a lot.
Yeah. And you've got team members that are, you want to still be available when things open back up. I mean, gosh, yeah, that's crazy. So how did you guys get through that? What's the rest of that story look like?
I would say the lucky part of living in West Virginia was we got to open up 2.5 months later. So we reopened on like May 29th of 2020. Not to say it was all unicorn and rainbows after that, because it wasn't. But at least we could open our doors and run classes again way sooner than, I mean, there were other places that were not as fortunate.
Yeah.
So that is one really lucky, good thing.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and then it was obviously, like you said, keeping the team members challenging. Like we had two people that moved, two of our main coaches moved right after that. And just big changes obviously happen because everyone's life's uncertain. So, but yeah, getting back in the studio.
I was going to say that was a point too, where, we were both new to Morgantown, new to West Virginia, and the power of this community just was unreal. I mean, we lost more than 40% of our membership base during the 2.5 month break, right? Coming back. And then a lot more went on freeze, and we're kind of just waiting to see what happened. But when we reopened and we heard from people about how happy they were to be able to work out again, how happy they were that we were doing everything we could to keep it a safe place to work out. I mean, that's when you really saw the impact that you could have on people, but then also saw the incredible tight-knit community that this market was, that you just really couldn't understand without going through something like that. And we thankfully were able to keep our doors open and keep going and keep moving forward, just because of this community and because of the great people here in the Morgantown area.
That's amazing. That's really cool. You established yourself into this community for even that short period of time, and then things went off and had to pause. And when it came back online, they were back there to support you guys again. And I mean, that's a testament to the service you're providing, I think, to the community, and them just giving back to, what you guys are giving them. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, so business is back up and running, and fast forward, to obviously, the things got better with the pandemic and eventually went away and all that. But fast forward to when you guys decided to open the next location, because that's always an exciting thing for people who are looking to grow and scale what they're doing. How did that come about?
So we actually went and visited the space. Our real estate agent, our broker in Morgantown, owned a property in the town Bridgeport. And from the very beginning, he was like, you got to check it out. You got to check it out. We've just never been there. So but he always kind of had it on our radar of this is where you should go if you have a number two. And we went and visited, I want to say February of 2020. So that's when we initially started the visits. And then that quickly just went to the wayside until Matt, take it from there. When did we start then? Looking back into it.
Oh man, it was probably a couple years later after that, and we really we wanted to have an impact on a larger scale, right? We loved what we were doing. We loved, this is where I had the opportunity to connect everything back to that conversation with my grandfather and you started talking about it earlier, Alan, you get that opportunity to work face to face with people and be able to watch them grow and improve their health, improve their lives. And it's addictive. You really like that. And that was when I realized like, this is what we need to be doing. And I still had my corporate job at this point, which was extremely fortunate, right? And really helped us to make our way through a lot of these challenges that we faced. But yeah, that we wanted to expand, and that was the next place that we could go to. And so we did. We took the jump. We let the franchise know that we wanted to expand. We ran the market analysis. It looked like a good market. We knew it was going to be a smaller market and a smaller studio. But nonetheless, even our worst case scenario type stuff, we were like, this will be good. It'll be profitable. And we'll kind of go from there. So we did it. We took the plunge. We went through the build out, used the same contractor. And then as we were opening, that's when the war in Ukraine broke out and interest rates skyrocketed beyond a level of my worst case scenario.
Oh, man.
So that was challenging. But nonetheless, we opened it up. We found another incredible community, great people, a tight-knit community down there, and just love. I mean, we've got two very different studios, but the impact that we're having on both communities is incredible, and we're happy that we're able to be that, vehicle for people to improve their health and kind of take that initiative to do so.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I want to take a quick pause here. We're listening to how Matt and Alissa navigated a high-stakes transition, balancing a corporate career while launching a business. When you have a family and a high-income career on the line, you can't afford to guess. You have to get the business model right first time. That's exactly where I come in. I help you cut through the noise to find the specific franchise that fits your goals and your life, completely free of charge. If you're ready for a clear game plan, let's talk. You can book a quick intro call at athletetoowner.com/ready. All right, let's get back to the interview. So I want to go back a little bit to rewind a little bit to what you said before, which is you were still working in your corporate job, thankfully, I guess before you opened the second unit. So tell us what that was like and you being able to work your corporate job at the same time. And it sounds like Alissa was kind of the point person. She was the one kind of in the day-to-day operations and such, which is great to have that partnership. But what was that like during that time frame? And then, the point at which you transitioned into like, okay, I'm going to give this up and all the nice benefits and health benefits and other things that come along with this W-2 job, and I'm going to go all in, as a family into the business.
So you want to know his perspective on it? I was going to say, or mine.
Both. Oh, that's a good point. Okay, let's start with you, Alissa. That's a great point.
It was a lot.
I'm going to get my popcorn here ready for this one.
He would work from his truck like daily. Like the parking lot of Orange Theory was Matt's office all the time. Like, yeah, day in, day out. And he even got a truck, the Ford that has the fold down desk, so you could have like the middle console is a desk, so he could like set up his computer and take calls and work from there all the time. So, I mean, I would say stretched as much as he could stretch without breaking, to then like, all right, if we're going to do this second one, we've got it. That's going to be it, because we're not going to be able to maintain. We had 2 kids, 3 at the time, young. So that was a lot. The parking lot working needed to stop at some point.
Yeah. So Alissa, for you, was it how you felt? Was it more, you need to get out of here, you need to get out of that job so you can help me in growing this thing and taking care of everything that needs to happen within the business and the household? Or were you more of like scared or nervous about losing that kind of consistent income?
I would say, benefits are obviously amazing, especially at a big company like that. So that's hard to replace. But eventually it's like, what's your work-life balance going to be? You know what I mean? Like, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to just what's our end goal. So figuring out the importance of like, when can we get rid of your corporate job and still maintain the life we want to maintain. So that was kind of the biggest thing, and Matt is very risk averse. So like, he's got to weigh all the options to know, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, let's just do it. Like, I'm more of like, let's go and let's do it. We'll make it work, make it happen. So it was getting to the point where he was comfortable enough and we were going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Makes sense. What's your take, Matt?
So first off, my wife, Alissa, is an absolute rock star. She was our studio manager for the first year and a half. We already talked about what she did in our first franchise. She's just an absolute rock star. She ran the day-to-day. She did it all. Everything that members could see, she did. And the things that they couldn't see, I did. The back end stuff, right?
All the dirty stuff that gets no recognition. That's what Matt felt bad.
Yeah. And so she's an absolute rock star and never would have been able to do it, right? Never would have been able to do it if she wasn't all in on it. We also never would have been able to do it if it wasn't for PwC. I mean, I was so fortunate. I value and cherish. I spent 20 years working at that company, and it's one of the best experiences that prepared me for so much of what I'm doing now. I absolutely loved my time there and the people that I got to work with.
That's great.
But like Alissa said, it was really kind of wearing on me. You've got a full-time workload that you're carrying at, my corporate job. And then I was spending all the time I could outside of that to fulfill my responsibilities at our business. And there was just this one thing that kept, I heard somewhere along the lines, right? How do kids spell love? Time. And that has always been in my head ever since I heard that quote. And I knew that I wanted to prioritize time with them. And I knew that going down the path of my corporate job was not going to provide that. And then also, corporate jobs come with uncertainty, right? When I was the first 12 years, 13 years that I was there, I was in consulting. So I was in a profit center, and I knew as long as I brought in the business that was covering my salary and my team's salary plus some profit, I was good, right? But then when I went internal, worked in our marketing department, it was all of a sudden you're a cost center, and every round of layoffs, you're potentially on the chopping block. So you've got all that coming into it too, that really, I think, motivated me to want to grow the business, to expand the business, and eventually both of us be able to do the business full time. So it was kind of fun too. We told our kids about it. We said when we get to a certain membership level that I was going to put in my 2 weeks or however much time after, 20 years, however much time they needed from me, right, to transition. And we drew a date on the calendar. And we said that once September rolled around, that I'd be beginning to transition, and I'd let PwC know about that. And all along the way, it felt like we were so fortunate we were able to steal second base while still keeping our foot on first base, and be able to open up these two businesses while I still had my job. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. So we hit the summertime, September's coming up. We've got our eye on that date, and you never believe this, but I got laid off.
Wow.
I got laid off in the summertime. Wow. And anybody at July. So anybody at PwC that might come across this podcast, it's kind of crazy, right? So I have this date drawn on the calendar. I get laid off. I end up getting severance, and then I get 2 months earlier than I was planning on leaving to leave and spend the summer with the kids, with my family, and then transition after that into full business ownership.
That's crazy. That's crazy timing. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? I mean, if you look at it the other way around, like had you not planned for it and then it just kind of came, how big of a shock that would have been, forcing you to go in that direction. But man, yeah, well, that certainly worked out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of business ownership, right? I mean, yes, it comes with significant risks, but to diversify and be able to be your own boss, and as long as you're finding the right opportunity, right? And that's why we love franchising. but it's a business in a box essentially. And if you can do something like that, then you can begin to control more of your own destiny in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And let it be said that this is coming from someone who is very risk averse. So there's a lot of people out there who, are in the same boat, who are, very risk averse, don't want to take, big chances. But, what I like to tell people is that, there's risk in everything that we do, including having a W-2 job. Of course, there's risk of, being in that next round of layoffs. But, the beautiful thing with franchising is that, it's a calculated risk, and you can do all this research ahead of time and, look at financials of, the FDD and look at the franchisor financials and talk to owners and do all this vetting, ahead of time. And of course, work with someone like, like a franchise coach, of course, who can help guide you along the way, who has experience too. So there's a lot that you can do ahead of time to really mitigate that risk and set yourself up for success long term.
No, we got told we were crazy when we moved from Philly to West Virginia. I mean, I don't even know how many times people thought we were literally crazy. Like, I can't believe you're moving your 2 kids, your family. For what? Like, don't worry about it. We'll talk to you in a couple of years.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. We got this. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. I want to fast forward now to you guys starting the next franchise, which the next business opportunity, which is not another Orange Theory. So tell us how this happened.
You want me to take this one, Alissa? So yeah, I mean, this one is, it's unbelievable how I think everything kind of just came together and happened. So we knew we wanted to expand, and we knew we wanted to do something in Morgantown. A passion of mine that I haven't mentioned has always been food. Like, some people can remember movie quotes from all different kinds of movies. Like, I can remember meals from all different events throughout my life. I always thought maybe one day I'll open a deli, or, when I retire, do something fun like that, just that revolved around food. Well, Alissa has always been an extremely health conscious person, has always eaten healthy, always taken care of herself. And we started to think through, maybe we'll do something in the health food arena. There was, in the same shopping center that we are in, there was a smoothie and juice business, a locally owned one. We knew the owners. We partnered with them on a lot of stuff, and a lot of our, just knew a lot of people that went there, right? And we always thought, okay, if they ever go to sell that, then we got to jump on it and pair the two up. Fitness with something healthy that relates to nutrition is obviously a great combo. Well, that opportunity kind of came and went, and without getting into the details, it was a little frustrating situation for us, and it just created this fire in like, Alissa always has a fire inside her, like she's ready to go, but inside it just created this fire in me that was just sort of running from frustration and a little bit of regret. And I was just so upset that we kind of let this thing slip in a way. And I was just having a conversation with my dad, and he's like, well, what's next? Go figure it out. And I was like, that's a good point. He's like, go to a franchise conference. You read that entrepreneur magazine all the time. Go start looking through the magazine. What's next? And that's exactly what we did. And started looking at different franchise opportunities. And there was a franchise called Project LeanNation, and it was in my hometown. And every time we went back to visit, I'd either pick up, there was a pizza place and there was a hoagie shop sort of on either side of this Project LeanNation. And I'd always peek in the window, never went in, and just whatever. Well, I remembered that as Alissa and I were going through this process and talking about potential franchises, and we said, you know what, let's check it out. So we reached out, and we ended up having a call with the founder, Tim, unbelievable guy. And from the first phone call, we were like, this high quality person seems like a really good business. We need to look more into it.
Because that's a big part of it. Same thing with Orange Theory. Like, you got to have a franchise team that is like in it to win it. You know what I mean? And after going through and vetting and like, I'm sure you've done the same, but with different ones, it's not all the same at all. and you got to find one that you click with and that literally their heart and soul is that. And that's what Orange Theory has. And that's what PLN has in nutrition.
Yeah, I agree. Just a little sidebar. When I was exploring franchise options myself, I flew out on confirmation day, on discovery day, to this place in Florida, thinking this was going to be it. And after that day, I was like, this is not it. It didn't click. Like, I love the business and the business model, but the people, it just didn't click for me. And so I ended up going on the way home, stopping by and stopping by the Shelf Genie headquarters in Atlanta. And then I was like, these are my people. And so that's how I ended up going through with that. But yeah, you're so right. The people part makes a big difference, and making sure that you can get along, because this is like a marriage, and making sure they're fully invested and, looking to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's continue on with your story here then. You guys, you investigated it. You lucked Tim. And
so we got the FDD. We noticed immediately when we were reviewing the FDD, they really just had one store on there, and it's their corporate owned store. And risk averse guy sitting here. Okay, how can I analyze one store? So, and it was a newer franchise, right? At the time, I think there were 33 locations for Project LeanNation. We're not talking about that long ago. This is last year. There were 33 locations, and we could see them all listed in the FDD, and figured, all right, we're going to most likely be calling all these people. And we just started to look into it, talked to some franchisees, poured through again, I couldn't really come up with pro formas. I knew that in the best case scenario, if we end up like this corporate store, that's going to be pretty amazing. But we had to do a lot of vetting. And I think that's we came from this like super experienced 1,500 location franchise to this smaller one. But the advantage the smaller one had is that we were having our first call with the founder, the guy that's telling us his purpose, his why, how it all got started. Mm-hmm. And that is really what got us to the next level, which is like, we need to go to a discovery day. We need to go meet the team. We need to see the process. We need to see all that stuff. It's actually kind of crazy. We got there and you're going through all the discovery day, and then lunchtime comes around and you get to have a meal from Project LeanNation, right? We do healthy prepared meals. And so they're like, which meal do you want to try? Which one's your favorite? And we said to them, we've never had the meals. They're like, wait, you came all the way up here for Discovery Day and you've done all that and you haven't even tasted the food yet. Like, I guess we never really even thought about that. Thank goodness. The food was amazing. We loved it and continued on with it. But at that Discovery Day, we had the chance, and Discovery Day, it's not, you don't just, I'm sure some people do, but you don't just show up and go on the tour and see what you think. You do your homework ahead of time, because that's your chance to ask the corporate people all the questions that you have. So we did a ton of homework leading up to it. Obviously, we didn't taste the meals, but we did a ton of other homework and had 2 pages worth of questions that we wanted to ask the corporate team. And we got the chance to sit there in a conference room with Tim's team, all his key leaders, from operations to technology to finance to marketing to production. And they were all with us, and we got to interview them for an entire day. It was unreal. And that is really, we left there with a box of like 30 meals, and Tim kept throwing swag. You like that sweatshirt? Take that sweatshirt. Just throwing swag at us. And we knew we had something pretty incredible on our hands. And shortly after that is when we decided we're all in. Let's do this. You guys match our values. You guys have high energy. We see a ton of upside. We see a ton of potential. Of course, we did a little more due diligence and ran some numbers and talked to as many franchisees as we could. But we ultimately came to the decision, this is for us. Let's go.
Yeah. That's amazing. Especially given the fact, again, I'm going to reiterate that You are a risk-averse person who decided to move forward with a franchise that only at the time had, one set of numbers in the FDD and only 30 franchisees. Like that's pretty incredible. That's very compelling. Alissa, I'm curious to know from your standpoint as being the one who has always been into fitness and nutrition, what's your take after having, looked at obviously the meals and nutritional content and all those sorts of things?
Yeah, so pre Orange Theory, when we were doing Avocare, we always had something to offer like clients. Like I was a personal trainer and could help them on nutrition with nutrition plans and through Avocare supplements and like all that. And then we go and open Orange Theory and we didn't have that anymore. So we're no longer with Avocare and just didn't have anything to offer people. So that was like a missing piece for sure. And like every year we do a transformation challenge at Orange Theory and we're like, there's got to be a way. Like people have to work out with us 3 days a week is how we do the transformation challenge. But then you just watch them struggle. And I'm like, I can help them. And I know, but like I can't help them, but I want to. You know what I mean? Like I wish I had a vehicle to help them. And literally every year we would have that conversation. It would be like January and we're like, darn it, what do we have to, we got to come up with something. And so looking at different franchises, I mean, some appeal healthy, but like not enough to where I would eat it every day. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And where I would want to then sell it to my clients and have them be eating it every day and me like promoting this. So that was like we looked at a bunch of different, probably like, again, 3 or 4, and this was like our 5th one that we looked into. And so with the macros and the meals and like what we actually do at PLN, I can 100% stand behind and like tell people they will see results when they do that. And that's what we were looking for. Like, how can we help you get results, make it easy for you? And this is a way to do it, So yeah, never really pictured those two fully meeting like that, but we got it. Found it.
I mean, it is
it's pretty cool. Yeah. And like when we saw our first PLN, like the store in Marlton, like it's a very bare-ish store. So you don't really know what's going on. And because we sell meals, but they're all in the freezer because they're frozen. So it's very interesting. So going there and seeing it made all the difference because we had no idea what we were walking into, really. Like he said, we hadn't tried the meals or anything. It was a lot.
It just made me think too, when we were in the fitness world, I mean, we've been in the fitness world, right? And the question that we get most often from people is, how do I eat? Right? What do I need to, how do I meal prep? How do I do this? How do I do that? And we never really had that answer. And the best answer is, you know what? You eat whole food. You eat real food, minimally processed, none of the bad stuff, all the good stuff. And that's what PLN is. That's what Project LeanNation is.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was going through a training program, years ago, that was one of the big proponents or the big elements of the program, from the trainer was, okay, here's the fitness side of things and what you need to do to work out. And then the other side, which is equally as important, is the nutrition side of it, making sure you're getting all the right macros and, cutting out, minimal amounts of, processed foods and saturated fats and all those other sorts of things. So yeah, this is like the perfect pairing, what you guys are doing. We should take a quick step back though and explain to us, Matthew, what Project LeanNation is for those people who are not aware of what it is and how you help your clients and how you impact their lives.
Sure. So at Project LeanNation, our goal is simple. It's to make healthy easy. And we do that a few different ways. We have a retail operation and a subscription model. So from a retail perspective, we have healthy protein shakes, full shake bar, natural ingredients, everything. All of our shakes have protein in them already, minimum of 26 grams, right? So you can get that healthy, easy, on the go pick me up that you might need. We also have a full line of supplements. Although I always tell people we're not supplement peddlers. We make recommendations where it makes sense. But then our main thing is our healthy prepared meals and our healthy snacks, primarily what we call them lean sheets. They're protein balls. And we provide those healthy meals to people. And again, you can come in, buy a few meals. You can also subscribe to our subscription service as well. And the beauty of it is we're not just dropping meals off at your doorstep. We have a storefront. You come into, pick up your meals, and we offer, for anybody that participates in our subscription service, what we call our PLN Plus membership. So you get nutrition coaching alongside of it. We'll help create a plan for you. We hold you accountable. We have a body composition scanner in the store that the majority of our PLN Plus members will go on every 2 weeks to track your progress over time and actually see what this good, clean food, along with the things that you're doing outside, are, how they're impacting your body and positively impacting your health.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love the model. I mean, I think that's great. I'm going to ask a couple questions, putting, my hat on from the audience of not knowing much about this, and I'd love to hear your responses to this. So I'll ask Alissa. So, how is this different than, I think prepackaged meals? Like, is this like Blue Apron? I mean, or one of these other subscription services? Like, how's this different from that?
So you have full control over your membership, like on your app, and you can pick up as often as you want, like for your meals, or you can pick up as little as you want. So we have people that come in and like pick up meals and use them for lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner every week. And then we have people that pick up once a month and use it as like a dinner, or here and there. I'm like a student and whenever I need, or I'm a busy mom and whenever something comes up, I just need something in the freezer. But all of our meals are frozen and they're flash frozen. So it's going to preserve all the nutrients there. And then you just pop them in the microwave 4 minutes and they're good to go. So they're never going to go bad on you, So like they're good in the freezer up to a year. We've done HelloFresh, Blue Apron. I think we did the HelloFresh one. But one of our biggest things was like, it's in the fridge and you got to cook it within 5 days or something. So a lot of clients, one of the, biggest perks is they're frozen and they're not going to go bad on them in 7 days, Yeah, huge. So many people are like, oh, I stop Factor because I, throw all my meals away. And I'm like, well, you don't have to do that. So you're good.
Yeah. And are people required to come in and pick them up, or do you guys deliver as well as an option?
Yeah, we deliver as well.
I think 90+% of people choose to pick up. I think they like that face-to-face interaction. I think the rubber band stretched really far one way, right? But I think it's really stretching back where people want that connection, that face-to-face connection. So the majority of people do come in.
And they'll come in, they'll grab a shake, they'll maybe grab some protein or whatever they need for the week, the lean cheats, and head on their way for the weekend.
I recall hearing Tim, the founder, on another podcast or a video of some sort. And he was describing that the difference he noticed when he first started the company was that when he was seeing people in person, that just personal touch and the connection with the client made all the difference in them, continuing with the subscription, continuing with the product and getting those meals, just because there was, another level of accountability and just having a relationship and someone who cared versus simply something showing up on a doorstep and, with no contact and, very impersonal. Have you guys found that to be true?
100%. Yeah. Like the people that don't do our consults or engage are definitely the ones that end up falling off more. And the ones that do come in every week and do those consultations and talk to a coach, they stay on way longer for sure and have better results. And
have better results. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for, right? Is results. Right. Follow the process. Just like in franchising, you follow the process and, things work out.
And you care about people, right? Like, go ahead, Alissa.
No, I'm like, if I could, people are always like, oh, I this or that. And I'm like, are you eating the meals? Can you just eat the meals? Sometimes you just want to shake someone and be like, just eat it. Eat the meals. That's it. I'm not asking you to do anything crazy.
This is pretty simple here. Just eat. Yeah. Eat what we provide.
Yeah.
But I think people, when they come in the store, right? They feel a difference. You're not coming in and just getting set up with the subscription. Like, here are the 12 meals, eat them, good luck, right? We have a conversation. Everybody that comes in for the first time has a lean consultation where we get to understand where they're at, what they're looking to do. We get to understand what challenges do you face? What have you tried in the past to reach your health goals? What's worked? What's not worked? What did you like? What did you not like? Why are you doing this, right? What's the underlying reason that you want to make a change? And I mean, we get to know people like that. And that really, I think, helps people to want to stay accountable to their own goals.
Yeah. There are some people out there who might think, oh, this is, that they're like, I want to be in franchising, but I definitely want to stay away from food, like food, no food, and no, you guys have food. How is this different than other, food businesses?
We looked at food businesses, and when we found this, we were like, this is simple. Like, you take Orange Theory, we have 72 different systems going on. We have one here. Like, it is simple. And we love that. And looking at even the other food businesses as well, like, you have a kitchen, you have this, you need a chef. Well, what if the chef is out? I'm not going to be the chef. Like, I was like, then what do we do? So there was a couple that after we got off the calls and talked to the franchisees, we'd both be like, there's no way we can do that. That is not. So this is, we were not looking to be in food and be serving all, but this gives you an opportunity to, I guess, be in food, but not be in food. It's a very simple way to be in it. So yeah.
I think we've always been drawn, obviously, we've been drawn toward relational businesses versus transactional. We like that side of things. And that, I think, when looking at franchises, right? I mean, you could pop up a store, a restaurant, something where, people know the name, they come in, they buy a smoothie and leave, right? But we move down this path of really truly a relational type of a business for a reason. So, people that are listening, there's so many different check boxes that you need when looking at a franchise, to decide what to do. Like Alissa said, we did not want to cook the food. This gave us a chance, though, to help people with nutrition from a relational perspective, not a transactional perspective. We don't have to worry about food waste. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We're serving meals on a daily basis to people that we don't cook.
That's amazing. I mean, and you guys get to have such an impact on people's lives, directly, through food, which is, I know, something that is important to a lot of people like you, Matt. I don't think you're alone in food, being one of those things that people can remember and really cherish. And if it's good for you, but also tastes great, and you're going to want to keep eating those meals, I mean, that's how you stick with the plan, I think, right? So tell us how, if you guys don't mind, tell us how this new business started off, and from a revenue perspective, the success of this business, how this started off in the early days, and and how it's doing now.
Sure. So something that was very important to us when we were looking at franchises was looking at something that could have a high likelihood of being cash flow positive from month one. And that's the beauty of franchising. You've got that FDD, you've got other people that you can talk to that are following the same process that you're going to be following. And we really worked hard prior to opening, during what Project LeanNation calls as the pre-sale phase, to generate interest, generate brand awareness, and sign up people for our subscription service. And they're signing up sight unseen in exchange for a founding member discount, which is an amazing discount that is not otherwise available. So we worked really hard in the lead up to our opening date. We have a 10-week lead up, and we tried to talk to everybody that we could. We tried to partner with people in the community, other businesses in the community, and just get the word out. And we quickly found that this was something that people were looking for. So to answer your question directly, we started off with over 200 subscription members, and we were right up there with the top franchise opening for Project LeanNation.
That's amazing.
And so we were fortunate enough to be cash flow positive from month one. It was amazing. And we've found an incredible team, an incredible general manager. And if you don't have the right team, when you own a business, you're in for it, right? Well, we've been fortunate enough to get connected to some great people, and they share the vision, they share the passion for helping people and the passion for food and nutrition. So we've been in what PLN considers the top tier of stores from a revenue perspective each month but one. So we're doing 70,000 plus in revenue each month.
That's amazing. And you just started, right?
We just started.
When did you open your doors?
October 11th.
That is insane. That is insane to start off that quickly and to maintain that, for these months. It is truly amazing. And I think what you've mentioned this, but like the ability for a franchise to be able to start like on day one, cash flow positive, is really something special. And I think that's the beauty of a concept like this, is to be able to, you put the work in right before you open to build it all up, and then you just hit the ground running. That is amazing.
Yeah. And not every franchise does that. Like I think Orange Theory is the ones that created pre-sales. At least that's what they say. Paul Ryder created them. But like we had done that before. There's a franchise opening in our town, and I reached out to see what the deal was like for pre-sales, because they're opening soon, and there isn't one. And I was like, okay, and so you definitely, not every franchise has you set up to open day one cash flow positive. That's huge. So both of the ones that we've done so far have qualified in that.
Very cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys being on the show today. I learned a ton, and I'm sure the audience will really, really get a lot out of this. Congratulations on all the success you've had with all the businesses you've had, really. And, I'd love to touch base with you guys again later to catch up and see how it's going. Maybe after, a full year would be great. So thanks again for being on the show, and congratulations on being franchise champions.
Thanks so much, Alan. It's great to be on.
A huge thank you to Matt and Alissa for sharing their story today. There are 3 big takeaways from their journey that I want you to remember. 1, they were deliberate. They didn't just guess. They picked a model that allowed them to start manageable and scale up. 2, the system works. When crisis hit, having that franchise support structure was the difference between folding and thriving. 3, they played the long game. They treated this as a vehicle for freedom, not just another job, and that mindset allowed them to eventually replace their incomes. If their story has you thinking about your own exit from the corporate grind, remember that the most critical step is picking the right vehicle for you. You need a business that matches your specific skills, capital, and family goals. If you're ready to see what's possible for you, head over to athlete2owner.com/ready, and let's set up a quick chat. I'm Alan Regala. Thanks for listening to the Franchise Champion Show, and I'll see you in the next one.